Welcome to the Aliya Matheson Show. I'm your host, Aliya Matheson, and we're here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central Time. Say also hi to Brian. He's the camera guy. He's going to be interjecting now and again, as always. Say hi, Brian.
Hi.
Hope you guys all had a great New Year's and Christmas, and I hope you guys are a bunch of rebels and we're hugging your family and celebrating and having mass gatherings, because that's the new thing to do. That is the rebellious thing to do. You guys are just edgy, living it up over there. We had a pretty lame Christmas. We were both, I was sick, and Brian, you kind of had you had like a sore throat or something?
I had green stuff, but other than that, it wasn't like a fever or cold or anything.
Yeah, he didn't really have anything that bad, but yeah, we just stayed home and watched movies, and that was pretty much it for us. And it's actually funny. So 5 minutes before the new year was about to happen, I wanted to look at all the fireworks because we can see the square from our house at the Georgetown Square, and as soon as it was about to hit 12 o'clock, I hear Judah crying in the other room. So, I have to go nurse him back to sleep, and I'm just sitting there nursing him, and I see fireworks exploding out the window. I'm like, wish my blinds were open. Wish I could see these fireworks. And I was just like, this is lame. But I hope your guys' New Year's was better than mine. Eventually, I did just take him out, and we looked at some of the last remaining fireworks at the end of the night. But yeah, it wasn't my typical New Year's. I tend to like parties, so this is what New Year's is like with a baby. So yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys had people to party with. That's kind of what this topic is about today. We're going to be talking about finding your tribe. As you can see, we're being very much divided right now. We are seeing a lot of tensions when it comes to politics. We're seeing tensions over COVID, masks, vaccines, you name it. I feel like everyone is kind of on one end of the spectrum or on the other end of the spectrum, and we're very polarized as a society right now. We're very segregated in a lot of ways. We have people kind of, just really passionate about their opinions, and they think they're definitely the right ones, and then you have the other side that is super passionate about their side and they think they're the right ones. And you know what, there's so much misinformation on both sides, unfortunately, and you're just seeing so much of this tension from both sides, and it's a lot of hate too. I mean, we're seeing people name calling, we're seeing families being broken up. I mean, it's getting to the point where there might be some kind of war. Hopefully not, but I feel like depending on the outcome of this election, I think we're going to see a lot of craziness. Don't you, Brian?
Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of anxiously awaiting January 6th. I guess that's the next date that, we're expecting.
Yeah.
Some craziness.
I'm excited, but I'm also scared. And also I'm not sure what I'm going to do if certain person is in office. I think most of you who know me know who I'm talking about. But anyways,
well,
the topic of this episode.
This show will air after the fact on January 7th. So,
yes.
Actually, no, I'm sorry. This show will air January 6th. So
yeah, we're going to be airing this episode on the election night. So I don't know what the outcome is. We're pre-recording this. So it might be really crazy, and that might give me something to talk about for next week. But anyways, staying on track. Today we're talking about finding your tribe, and it's really difficult to find your tribe right now. Not only because we're so polarized, but because we're not allowed to meet anywhere, or we're not supposed to be meeting, we're not supposed to be at church. These are the kind of places you typically meet people. And when COVID first hit, I was postpartum with Judah. It was probably a month in, maybe. And this is the time when you're supposed to have a lot of people helping you. I don't have family here in Texas, so, you have friends, whatever. And I had friends come in the beginning and help me with certain things. But after COVID hit, it was kind of you're not allowed to talk to each other. And this was before people were even protesting against COVID. It was right in the beginning of COVID. So literally nobody was talking because they weren't sure what it was. Everyone was just kind of what is going on? We're locked down. So you're just kind of isolated. And then for us, when we were going to church, a lot of people didn't want to meet and stuff, and our church wasn't meeting. So that was difficult, because then we were kind of like, we don't even have the option to go to church. Even when we realized, like, okay, it's not what the media is saying it is. We didn't even have the option to like go to church. So it's like, where do you get that connection that you need, you know? That was difficult for me, and I'm sure it was difficult for you too, huh, Brian?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Very lonely.
We're both like extremely extroverted people, so it's very difficult for us to just be like kind of isolated. So I know a lot of people are still feeling that, because even if they don't think that COVID's as bad as people are saying, a lot of their friends and family do. And that's the case for us too. Like, we have a lot of family who didn't want to see us when we drove out to California this past year. And it's not that they didn't want to see us because like they didn't want to see us, but they felt scared to see us. Like, they didn't want us in their house. They didn't want us spreading, you know, being asymptomatic carriers. They didn't want Judah spreading whatever. So they didn't want to hold Judah, you know. People were meeting us at the mall because they didn't want to meet us in their homes. And that is kind of where we're at as a society right now. People aren't meeting for Christmas or Thanksgiving. They're spending it alone. And like, part of me feels bad for those people, but on the other hand, it's kind of like you're choosing to live in this like extreme fear. So I think not only do we have those nuances of the situation, but we also have the fact that people are they're being kind of antagonistic towards their other sides. So you have people saying like, oh, if you choose to go out and party even without me there, you're basically spreading COVID. You're a super spreader. You are basically killing grandma. If you go to the store, if you're doing this, you don't care about other people, and you're kind of being boxed into this category of selfish and rebellious or whatever, and you're kind of judged for it. So if you post about COVID, you're being insensitive, you're being this, and that, and you're kind of name called all these different things because you're kind of seeing through all of the propaganda, and you're seeing through what everyone is claiming COVID is. And I'm not saying COVID doesn't exist or it's not a real illness. I'm sure it does exist, and there's people who are dealing with it and it doesn't do well with them, and there's nurses who are working really hard right now to help these people who do have COVID. But for the mass majority of people, they're not going to be affected by this thing, and it's unfortunate to see such divide over this. And it's not just COVID, it's politics too. If you're a Trump supporter, God help you when it comes to having friends. Like, it's not cool to be a Republican anymore. It's not cool to be a conservative. So if you are any of these things, you're kind of put in this category of racist, selfish, blah, 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 insensitive, you know, whatever you want to call it. And families aren't even talking to their other relatives who are supportive of these politicians or who are supportive of not locking down or whatever, you know? So it's kind of crazy, the world we're living in right now, and I'm not sure how much better it's going to get. I mean, it's always kind of tense during election time, I feel, but this has been extremely tense. So yeah, I think we really need to think about what we're doing, because there's a lot of children who are kind of getting the short end of the stick when it comes to this stuff. They're not seeing their friends. They're not going to school. They're not getting that interaction. And I can't imagine that's good for their development. So that is really hard. And we have to also ask ourselves, like, who is doing this? You know, why are they doing this? Because we can yell and scream at each other all day, back and forth, but it's like, we got to come to the point where it's like, why is the government doing this, and are they doing it on purpose? We have to start asking those questions, because it feels very strongly like we're being pitted against each other, you know?
I agree 100%. And as far as what you were saying about the kind of COVID depression, I think that deserves its own episode. But
yeah, because of the isolation, you mean?
Isolation, and you know, children are just major in this. I mean, I can't imagine the like, I don't know, your whole world around you just turns, and of course your parents are stressed and bills are hard, and anyways, there's been some very, very sad stuff going on with the kids, and yeah, I think that's going to be a whole different topic for another day.
Yeah, I definitely like to jump into that topic at some point too. I mean, even for me as an adult, it was depressing. Like, I had people be like, "Are you okay?" Like, when it first like happened, and I was out there protesting and fighting against all of these lockdowns and all of these extreme measures and mandates and everything else. People were like, "Are you okay? Like, is this like some sort of postpartum anxiety?" Like, people just didn't understand, because I don't think that a lot of people realize that the frog is being boiled right now. Like, slowly turning it up, the heat on this little frog, and it's not even going to realize it's being boiled. And I don't think people realize how radical this country will change depending on the direction we choose to go and what we allow in this country. So people are on the other side feel like people like me who are fighting against all this stuff are very extreme, which I get if you're not like woke. I hate using that term, but if you don't like get the big picture of things, it's going to seem like you're a radical person, you know? And I feel like a lot of people, a lot of you who watch this are like me. We're fighters. We see the bigger picture and we're like, heck no, this is not the America I'm going to grow up in. And we're fighting against that. And to a lot of our friends and family, we look legit crazy. You know, we're called conspiracy theorists, you know, whatever. So it's difficult to make friends and find these people. But at the same time, it's never been easier because right now you can see who your friends are just by the fact that if their face is showing, they're probably on your side, which is kind of crazy. Like you go to these rallies. I've been at so many rallies this year, or last year, I should say. And it's kind of like you automatically know who's with you just by the fact that you can see their face. And it's kind of just wild that that's the case now. It's like we have our own uniforms now.
Talk about being divided, right?
Right, yeah. Your face, yeah. Your face is divided
like
in half.
when you're in HEB and you see someone else without a mask on.
Uh-huh. And then you do that like it used to be like a black person thing. You see another black person in the store and you're like that's like a black person thing. It's probably like a Hispanic thing too. I don't know if you guys tell me if you guys do that too, but whenever you see a black person in a store and you're black, you just kind of go to them. But now it's the case with like someone who's not wearing a mask. You're just like, let's be best friends because I can see your face. Like yesterday we were getting pizza and this old man, he's probably like what, 80? He comes into the pizza place. He has no mask on, just walks in like he owns the place. And we're just like, yes. This guy, he doesn't care. And then his wife's like, put on a mask. And he's just like, nope. And I'm like, that's who I want to be my surrogate grandpa.
I think you just confessed that you're not following anything for New Year's.
Well, I
you
think
just
that's
said
pretty
you were
obvious.
At a pizza place.
Yeah, we were getting pizza yesterday. Yeah. So
no New Year's diet for you.
No. My New Year's diet lasted about an hour, and then we got ice cream. So yeah, those resolutions are not likely to last you long. But anyways, New Year's resolution to get more friends. That's one that I can get behind because I'm such an extrovert.
I know there's people in the stores that feel the same way as us, but they just do it because they're coerced, you know?
Yeah.
It's like you can't shop here unless you wear it, and they're not bold enough to just do it anyways. Mm-hmm. And so they just do it anyways, but then they see us, and I know people that like look at people without a mask on in stores and wherever, and some of them are like, what the heck? But some of them you can tell that they're like jealous, like, wait,
how did you get in?
Wait, how are you doing this? So they're like, you know, it's encouraging people to also rip their, you know, muzzle off their face too.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I want to talk about too, is I want people to embolden other people. Those of you out there who aren't wearing your mask, I want you to not be discouraged because you are inspiring people, whether you know it or not. You're showing people that you can do it. Like, you're not going to get like tased in the store. Nobody's going to come for you. I mean, not yet anyways. That might be the direction we're headed. But right now, you can do that. And there are certain stores that are more strict and you'll get the cops called on you and whatever. But you're not going to go to jail. You're going to be fine. Like, if you want to fight for your rights, you can, and you have no excuse not to. And you can always give your business to places who respect your rights as a human being and respect your right to breathe the air that God gave us.
And at the same time, if you really think that the masks work, which we don't think that 100%. We think they do not work. Mm-hmm. But if you think they work and you're still on, you know, the side of freedom, then great. Wear your mask and still fight for freedom. Yeah, that's fine. But when you're, you know, just going along with whatever the media says, that's where we have, you know, what we have an issue with, and we want to try and spread truth.
Well, that's my thing too. Is one of my number one points when it comes to finding a tribe is they don't have to think every single thought that you think. Like, you can be pro-mask and pro-vaccine, and we can still be best buddies as long as you respect my right not to do those things. And that's where I think we need to grow as a society in respecting other people's choices and not pushing our agendas onto other people or our opinions onto other people. If people ask for it, like, give it to them, spread truth, whatever. But when it comes to friendships, you need to be able to respect that your family member might not believe in COVID. Your family member might believe in COVID. And you can both do that at the same time, and you can both choose to live how you want without forcing that onto that friend or family member. And I think that's what we need to be doing, because so many people think, because I believe this way, you're automatically a horrible person. Like, I don't think people who wear masks are horrible people. I think they're miseducated based on my education and what I've learned about those things, but they probably feel the same way about me. But you know what? I don't care. As long as they respect my choice not to do that, and as long as I respect their choice to wear a mask, by all means, wear your mask, get your vaccine, do whatever the heck you want, but don't tell me I have to do it. And that's where I think people struggle. And I think we need to be open-minded. That's a trait that I look for a lot in my friendships. I don't want to have an echo chamber of people who just repeat my thoughts to me. I have friends who have all different types of belief systems. I'm a Christian, so I have very Christian worldview. I have friends who are not Christian. They don't share the same values as me, but hey, they respect my beliefs, and I respect that they have their beliefs. And I think that's what we need to focus on, is when you're finding your tribe, don't limit yourself to just people who agree exactly with you. Limit yourself to people who are open-minded and willing to respect what you have to say and offer, and also be friendly and open-minded to what they have to say, you know? I think that's important. I think it's also important that we admit that we need people, because we're not meant to be alone. And I don't care how introverted you are, nobody's meant to be by themselves. So I think the number one step of finding a tribe, or number two, I guess this would be the number two step of finding a tribe, is admitting you need a tribe. I think we don't do well as human beings when we're isolated. And you can see that with the depression rates that Brian was talking about. We see that when people are isolated for too long, or they don't have any sort of friendship, they fail to thrive. And we see this in elderly homes. We see elderly people failing to thrive and dying of loneliness. And that's like the saddest thing ever. So I think we need to acknowledge that we need other people and actively look for that and go places and put ourselves out there to meet other people like us. And depending on what you do, like as a Christian, I know that my number one community is going to be in church. So it's super important to us, me and Brian, that we have a good church and a solid church of people that I feel respect me and I respect them, and they, preach the word, and I can go there and I don't feel like I'm being judged for not wearing a mask or being judged for choosing to live how I live, in the sense of not sinning. Like, wearing a mask is not sinning, or not wearing a mask is not sinning. Not taking a vaccine is not loving others. So despite what your church might have told you, there's no verse in the Bible that talks about wearing a mask or social distancing or following COVID arbitrary mandates. That's not in the Bible. So I really hope that you guys are going to a church that respects that and doesn't push extra biblical things onto you if you are a Christian. And I hope that you can find a tribe and a community in a church like that, and that you should actively seek that church. And it might not be everything you ever dreamed of. You might like worship at this church better or whatever, but I think we need to really focus on the fact that churches should be meeting. So if they got that down, that's at least the bare minimum. And if they have other things, awesome. But no church is perfect, so don't expect a perfect church. And if you're not a Christian and you don't go to church, when it comes to just people in general, don't expect perfect people, because there are none. So there's going to be people who are drama and whatever, eccentric. And if you meet your friends, say at rallies and stuff, which is another good place to meet like-minded individuals if you're anything like me, they're eccentric people. We're all kind of black sheeps of society. That's why we're there. So don't expect everyone to just be totally the most amazing people on the planet. Like, they're great people, but they might have some weird, eccentric little quirks, as we all do. I definitely have my quirks. Brian definitely has quirks.
No, I don't. I'm the exception. I'm perfect.
But, I mean, we're very strong-willed individuals. We're very stubborn. A lot of us out here in the freedom fighting communities, we're very hot-headed, let's say. So we have big personalities, and we have to accept each other for who we are,
But I mean, also very loving, because we're not only fighting for our selfish selves. We're fighting because we don't want to see others getting fooled by big pharma and mainstream media and big tech and everything else.
Yeah.
So we want to just try and spread the news that we know to be true, and at least go think about it.
Yeah, and we love people. Like we want to see people do well. We want to see people not become slaves of the government. That's kind of what drives our activism and stuff. So a lot of you in the activist community who are struggling to make friends or are seen as very radical and stuff, just know that a lot of people who made big differences in the past were also seen as very radical. I mean, even prophets, again, Bible references, sorry of you, those of you who aren't Christians, but Jeremiah, he was called the weeping prophet, and it was because he had the message from God. He was a prophet, and he had all these words to say to these people, and nobody listened to him. He was literally the only one who was following God, and he was lonely, and God never promises us to have these like amazing massive friend groups. Like he says, it's going to be a lonely road. When you follow truth, people don't want to hear the truth anymore. They want to hear their ears tickled. We're getting to that stage. We're coming towards like end times, and people don't want to hear facts anymore. They don't care. They want their ears tickled. They want to feel okay. They want their illusions of protection. And if you face the truth, then you have to face maybe the fact that you injured your child with vaccines, or maybe you have to face that we're going in a direction that is dangerous for your children. Like that's scary. There's a lot of things that you kind of have to come to terms with, and people have their cognitive dissonance, and it's hard for people to break away from that. So give people their space, because it's a slow process, and I'm sure if you're just coming into these kind of topics and you're getting red pilled, as they say, it's difficult to just have everything dumped on you. So be patient with people as you're like kind of doing your activism. Don't just dump all of this like crazy conspiracy, not that it's a theory, but like your hardcore conspiracy knowledge on them all at once. Give them a little time to digest what you're saying. I don't know, what do you think, Brian?
Yeah, it's a lot, and I look at it as brainwashing. Like, school is brainwashing, media is brainwashing. A lot of the cartoons and movies and everything we watch is an agenda. And if you don't believe that there's an elite group out there talking about the direction that they want kids to grow up and the things that they want everybody to see in the news and paper and everything, then you're being fooled. And that's it's hard to, like you said, dump it on somebody that doesn't know anything, that doesn't know any better, because all they've ever been is, fooled. Like your favorite movie.
My favorite movie? The Truman Show? Yes, The Truman Show has never been more like relatable, right? And that's what we're kind of living in. We're living in this world where we're controlled by the media. We're controlled by what people want us to see. And forget COVID and politics, and we have racial tensions. I mean, there's so many angles that they're attacking us from, trying to get us all to hate each other and not have unity. So we need to be patient with each other on both ends. And I'm not saying there's literally nothing we can get from the other side, because I'm sure there are things that we can get from the other side. I think both sides have things to offer. I obviously am conservative, and I have a lot of conservative views, and I have my kind of third eye opened, but at the same time, I don't think it's good to kind of live in an echo chamber. But anyway, all that to say, I think it's important that we put ourselves out there, that we meet people, that we're patient with people, that we don't expect people to be perfect, and that we kind of just create a space for people to learn and grow without kind of pitting each other against each other or putting each other in boxes, And I think when you're making friends, even friends on the opposite side of you, I think it's good to be kind to them, because nobody's going to listen to you if you're like super like aggressive, or you're calling them names, or, whatever. You want to be as polite as possible and also speak the truth, but speak it in love, and that's difficult for me. I'm very like facts, don't care about your feelings, Ben Shapiro type. And that's what I appreciate about a lot of people in this movement, is a lot of them are like that. They can be corrected, and they go, oh, I wasn't right about this. And then it doesn't like kill them, they don't die of drama of the fact that they were corrected, or what they believed was wrong all this time. They're just like, ooh, let me learn more. And they're very curious. But there are people who aren't like that, and we have to be patient with those people. And, but don't disregard them, or don't think that they're not able to be your friend just because they're not as accepting of truth, or, because some people just need time to grow.
Where do you think people can find, start to find a tribe or build a tribe. Or I mean, you said church is a good place because a
Yeah,
lot of people end up
church.
having the same ideas. But I
Mm.
think, like, I don't know, I have just I think you said it, rallies is a
Rallies
big
are a
one.
good place. Just go out there, talk to people. Don't be afraid to be yourself. Be authentic. I think that's really important because when you're a leader, you're naturally going to attract people. I have so many friends on social media that I've never met, and they're like the most amazing people ever. And I'll talk to them all the time on social media, but I've never even met them in person. So even if you don't have people around you in your immediate circle, you can reach out to people online. And you can talk to those people. And as long as you're kind of putting yourself out there, go hold a sign by yourself and see what happens. You would be surprised how many people will go up to you and try and befriend you because they see that you're fighting for something they agree with. And I think a lot of people agree with you more than you think, and they're just too afraid to say it, or they don't want to post about it because they don't want to be that weird conspiracy theorist. But they're out there, and you just kind of have to attract those people. But if you're yourself and you're putting yourself out there and you're not being like rude about it, like you're not going around insulting people and all that stuff for not agreeing with you, but you can have mutual respect for different opinions, I think you'll be surprised how many people you kind of attract.
Yeah, and then like also I think a good idea is for everybody that's watching, like on Facebook or YouTube, comment below what city and state you're in, because you'd be surprised how many people are in your area. We always have people commenting saying, "Oh, what you're here in in Texas? You're here
Yeah,
in Central Texas? Let's meet up." And I think that'll be something that we would do. We can organize a big meetup, but I
that'd be
think
fun.
individually people should reach out to each other, and people should friend each other and just look at all the likes and comments on Aliya's pages and videos, and see if those people also have like friends of friends, or what's that called, mutual friends,
Mm-hmm.
and add them and talk to them, message them. Find people that are like-minded and get connected, because as we kind of touched on this whole episode is it's lonely, and we need to get connected and get back out there.
Yeah, get out of your comfort zone. I feel like last year was definitely a year for me to get out of my comfort zone for sure. I did a lot of things I never thought I would be doing. I never wanted any of this. I was just kind of thrown into it by, I felt
Me.
like obligation and duty to the country.
Oh,
But,
you're talking about that. I thought you were talking about all the crazy things you did last year.
oh, okay.
What was the craziest thing you did last year that you didn't think you were gonna do?
Oh man, I definitely didn't expect to hang up a big old banner on the freeway that says COVID-19 vaccine manufacturers are exempt from liability. Didn't expect to do that, but it was a really cool project. And there's so many projects like that going around and so many people willing to do stuff. Just you got to find those groups. Facebook groups are a great way to meet people, by the way. You can definitely join some of those freedom groups and see who's in your area. But yeah, I think those are the main kind of points I wanted to hit with this topic. If you guys have any other ideas, you should definitely comment about them. This show is like growing really quickly, and we want to do a lot with it, and we want to bring you guys awesome content. So if you want to support, that you should definitely go to my Patreon or Venmo, and we'll link that in the description and everything. But we are really excited for this new year and all of the cool stuff we're going to be doing. So we hope to see you around. We hope that you guys have lots of communities and friends that you can kind of bring other people into if you already have those communities. And if you see somebody who is kind of lonely or looks like they need a friend, be that friend for that person. And we want to go into this new year with a lot of love and truth, and we want to kind of bring people out of their sleep, and it might have to be a little more gentle than people who are more willing to see truth, but they're out there. There's people out there on all sides who are going to be woken up, and I'm excited for that. So we're very excited going into this next year and this next episode. So we'll see you guys next week at on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central Time. See you next week.
Bye bye now.